Very happy to be in the heart of one of the world's biggest cities, sitting with you for a few hours. I'm Jot Singh from the United States, northeast coast, an hour outside of the Boston, the lovely city of Boston. Was here at the Yoga Festival in France, which I've been coming to for 15 or 20 years now, and teaching and offering some of our things for sale. We're jewelry designers, and Yogi Bhajan wrote me a letter probably 40 years ago, and he said, "Son, you have artistic gifts. Make things that uplift and inspire people." So I've had the good fortune to reflect on his suggestion, and we do that these days. So I've been fortunate in my life to do a steady practice of Kundalini Yoga. Is anybody new? You've all been here, you're all doing Kundalini Yoga. So I started doing Kundalini Yoga in 1972. So it's been 45 years that I've been practicing this wonderful, amazing, sacred science. And I was telling students who came to my class in France that this is not an easy path. Because it's the yoga of awareness. And as we practice Kundalini Yoga, and we want to create brilliance in our lives, right? You came to the class, create brilliance and prosper. So in order to do that, I have found nothing that compares to Kundalini Yoga in my 45 years of kind of traveling around the world and seeing different disciplines, different spiritual groups. And Yogi Bhajan used to, when we would go and be with him, I got to be with him for 30 years. And it was a blessing. It was a great blessing to be with somebody who, many of us who had that good fortune, can't imagine that Jesus Christ or the Buddha were actually any different than Yogi Bhajan was. That's how cool he was. He was my mentor, he was my role model, and the coolest guy I ever met. And he used to tell us, when we would go and be with him, he used to say, "You've got to do your sadhana." And your sadhana is the daily practice of Kundalini Yoga. I wrote a book 3 years ago. I wrote a book. We sold out of them, in France anyway. But we can send them to you we can let you look at this one, and if you would like, we can send one to you, or they're also available online as an ebook. He used to tell us whenever we would go and sit with him, you gotta do your sadhana. And it's not so easy, because he called Kundalini Yoga the yoga of awareness. He called it the mother of all yogas. And so what begins to happen when you do Kundalini Yoga consistently? So if you want to create brilliance in your life, Kundalini Yoga is a process. Kundalini Yoga meditation is a process of self-reflection. So you begin to, when you do meditation, you begin to reflect upon, why did that happen that way with so-and-so when I said this to him or to her? Or why did my partner react so the other direction than what I wanted, let's say, when I said that to her, to him, her, whoever, however. So we begin to learn about the impact of our actions. And we can change that if we let's say, a few times. If we get a feeling like this is not working, we can consider changing that behavior to try something different. We're conscious enough to try something different. So My take and my method for creating brilliance in my life has been to be very consistent with Kundalini Yoga, because you begin to run into any trauma you've experienced in your life, in this life, possibly a previous life. You begin to see and have to examine and sort out any drama, trauma, whatever it is that you've experienced is going to float through your subconscious mind at some point in time. And you either have to heal it, forgive it, address it in some fashion, confront it, or not. It all depends if you want to leave whatever's creating hell in your life, let's say, because you can't move forward through that thing that was so difficult in your life. We all, I took a class with Shanti, a dear sister of mine. She teaches Kundalini Yoga therapy to therapists and different kinds of doctors, let's say. And what I learned, I was trying to learn to be able to teach soldiers who have PTSD. What I learned was that I had PTSD. I believe I had or have, I think it's probably healed by now because I've been worked on it very conscientiously. But also that most of us have been traumatized one way or another in our lives. And you'll find that out if you keep doing Kundalini Yoga. And when I was early in my practice of Kundalini Yoga, I was insecure enough that I had to take a break from doing Kundalini Yoga once in a while until I could feel like I wasn't getting in touch with that fear of my own. So this path is not for the faint of heart, you might say, or those who can't gather a little bit of grit to, keep up during whatever Kundalini Yoga exercise we're doing to help you make it through whatever you have to go through. We all have things, we all have karma in this life. Karma in this life are lessons we need to learn. I believe the most precious system on planet Earth today is Kundalini Yoga to help us through those. White Tantric Yoga. So in France, there are 3 days of White Tantric Yoga you can do. You probably have a day. You have, Satchak, do you have any White Tantric here yet? Yeah, so you have a day of White Tantric Yoga, which is an amazing opportunity to clear karma, but it'll also bring up new things. And that's just the way this path is. If you want to clear yourself of all the stuff you don't need, all the stuff that interferes with you being successful on every level of your life, Kundalini Yoga is the most precious system on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned, to help you be successful within every realm of your life. Business, relationship, whatever your sphere is. If it's not business, it's, maybe you're a social worker, or you bless people in some way, or you bring amazing things to life. And that's what Kundalini Yoga can help you do. So Steve Jobs did it somehow. All these things that he brought, which are pretty amazing things, and most people can't live without. A lot of people can't imagine living without their iPhone or whatever their Apple product is. And in Kundalini Yoga, you have an opportunity to bring exceptional something. It doesn't need to be a product, it can be a service, it can be a system, it can be wherever you're drawn to spend time and you explore, you develop, you serve, you can innovate. That's how precious Kundalini Yoga can be for you if you get serious about doing it consistently. But I'm telling you, it's not easy to do consistently. You'll do it for a while, maybe consistently, and then all of a sudden, because Kundalini Yoga, Yogi Bhajan used to tell us, Kundalini Yoga holds a mirror up to you. So you begin to see parts of yourself, and you may be reacting to something that somebody else is doing when actually you have a part in that maybe as well. that is part of your things to learn. Anyway, I'd like to, I'm going to shift what I had planned to do a little bit tonight. We're going to warm up, we're going to stretch out, we're going to do a little bit of a powerful Kundalini Yoga set. When we used to go and be with Yogi Bhajan, 9 times out of 10 he would kick our butts pretty severely. And it would be very challenging Kundalini Yoga. And that's the way Kundalini Yoga is the most powerful. I can see nobody in here is 19. And I'm going to be 65 in a couple of months myself, but I need powerful Kundalini Yoga. By the grace of God, I'm still pretty in good shape, and I can do powerful Kundalini Yoga. And that's what can be amazing to transform you. Just out of your normal, will just stimulate your 10 trillion cells, and you'll feel fabulous. I don't think you'd be sitting here if you hadn't experienced that already with Kundalini Yoga. And so being consistent with that practice and challenging yourself. And in the meantime, the most important thing with Kundalini Yoga is to just develop consistency. You don't have to think, even though it's ideal to do it, in the early morning before the sun rises. Yogi Bhajan used to say that's when the sun hits the earth at a particular angle. It's when all around us is quiet. Even these streets are probably a little bit quiet. And that's the most precious time to do Kundalini Yoga. But you might be a night person. You might have a late night shift, whatever it is. The most important thing is to develop consistency with your practice. Yes?
Can I ask you, when you say consistency, do you mean a regular 40-day practice or just...
No, I mean work toward doing it every day.
Yeah.
If that means if now you're doing it once a week, twice a week, try to do it 3 times a week. Be realistic. And also, I talk about this in my book, Yogi Bhajan emphasized it. Kundalini Yoga requires a commitment. And that's because of the stuff you're going to run into inside of you. If you haven't already. If you haven't already bumped up against, things that repulse you or that cause you pause or say, what the hell's going on here? You will, if you develop consistency. So, committing to doing it 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever it is. Committing to sitting down at 7 p.m., come what may. 7 a.m., come what may. Whatever's realistic for you and whatever commitments are realistic for you. And then honor those commitments and see if you can grow that toward every day. Because that's what he said it's the most precious. If you can make time, and I'm not saying any of you necessarily have that time. Elena told me she does something every day. And she's, I think, she looked at my book, she was here early. She wants to develop something that's, that can further lift her. It's been very transformational for her. I think probably it's been for some, if not most of you, because that's how precious this science is. Okay, and feel free to ask questions. We're a fairly small group. Feel free to not hesitate to ask questions. Part of what it takes to take your brilliance and be successful with it is courage. Yogi Bhajan said it's not the life that matters. It's the courage you bring to it. So you have to cultivate courage. We'll see. We'll maybe do a little something that will give you, a little exercise that will help give you fearlessness toward the end of our warm-ups before we jump into the set.